for joining us tonight for our fourth night of our Financial Literacy Week. We've had a fantastic week full of great, valuable information that has been shared. Tonight is our fourth night, and we're moving into financial literacy, dealing with real estate. And who better to have as our special guest for tonight. But first, I would like to give a big kudos and shout out to my fabulous mentor, Victoria, for putting this event together. This has been really, really, really good. She really put a lot of hard work and effort to this week. So we wanted to definitely tell you thank you so much and we appreciate you. You're a really great mentor. You have really steered the team in a good direction. So we have great solid foundation. So I just wanted to um, shout you out tonight because you have been really, really amazing with this week. So um, I want to move on into introducing our speaker for the night. She is not only is she on the team with me, she happens to be my aunt, uh, a very good friend of mine, someone who I can talk to about anything, everything. She has a wealth of knowledge, um, uh, just a great person all around. So tonight, our special guest that's going to talk to us about real estate is none other than my number one auntie, motivator, Vanessa Bradley.
Thank you, Tyra. Can everyone hear me okay?
You're good.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to piggyback on Tyra a little bit, and I want to thank our mentor, Victoria Bradley, for putting this together. It's been a phenomenal week. We have learned so much. And so with that, I'm going to get started. I'll share my screen, and we're going to dive into our fourth part of financial literacy and talking about real estate. Okay, so as you have heard, or if you're just joining in, my name is Vanessa Bradley, and I've been doing real estate for, or practicing it, or being a real estate broker, agent, however you like to take the term, since 2007. So that's about 14 years. I've been with Remax Synergy for the most part. They've changed names, but pretty much I've been with Remax for 14 years. It all started with a very good friend of mine, my roommate from college. We graduated and we set some goals. We said, we're going to live in, what did we say? We were going to live in Prairie Shores, and we were going to take the real estate class. We took the real estate class. I moved to Lake Meadows because I really couldn't afford Prairie Shores. And later got married. My husband did some things, and then lo and behold, he ended up in real estate, and he said, hey, you got to get your real estate license. So I did. And throughout that, I think that I've been, just going to brag on myself a little bit. I think that I've been an expert in helping both, or really sellers and buyers fulfill their real estate needs. I have sold all over Illinois. You name it. I've been all the way from Lansing, which is the border of Indiana, to Zion, which is the border of Wisconsin. Been all over selling, and I've met some phenomenal people and had some very, very good friends. But tonight we're going to talk about Monopoly. Now, I'm sure you remember this game, and it has transformed many years from when I was playing it when I was little. But I remember my friends and I playing Monopoly. And Monopoly is one of those games you could play for days. I mean, we would leave the board set up and come back to her house the next day and finish it. But if you remember, Monopoly was all about real estate, right? You went around the board, buying up property, setting up your houses, charging people rent. And when you had enough houses, anybody remember how many houses you had to have? About there, yeah, that's right. You had to have about 3 houses, and you could change your house or buy it, and now it's a hotel. So you're making money. So that's what it is. You want to monopolize that board by playing Monopoly. So that's pretty much what people do. When they say they want to make money, a lot of people, they say they want to go into real estate. So if you remember Monopoly had those little cards where you had a chance to turn the cards over. There were questions on there. I know everybody remembers go to jail and you get out of jail free card. Remember those cards? Well, I'm going to ask you a riddle. And if you know the answer to this riddle, I want you to put it in the chat. Okay, today there are not enough for everyone. The first day I had over 20 people come by to take a look at me. They even came to see me when it was 20 degrees below zero. After that, there were over 12 offers placed on me. I earned the highest and best award. So the first question is, who am I? What am I? And who's in control?
A house?
I got a house, absolutely. What about the control part? Anybody got that? So when you're thinking about real estate, I'm just looking at the chats really quick. So Gloria, when you said the owner, you're right, because at this point in today's market, the sellers are in control. So today is the seller's market. And you got a couple of reasons as to why it's a seller's market. Right now, the housing inventory is low. There are not enough houses for all the people looking to buy. So it goes back to when you were in school and the basic economics, supply and demand. So the housing market is low and the demand is high. So that's going to raise our prices up. And the interest rates are low. So if the interest rates are low, that means that my payment is going to be lower so I can afford a little more house. So if the inventory is low and the interest rates are low, you got buyers and sellers, right? And so we got that supply and we have that demand. Well, with interest rates being low, you're attracting these new home buyers, these people that want to purchase their home. And then you're also doing something with the owner. Well, if I'm a homeowner, and let's say that my interest rate was 6% last year, and this year I may be able to get a 2 or 3, I may refinance. I may decide I don't want to sell my house. So if I don't sell, somebody doesn't buy. So that's why the sellers right now, they're in control. And I'm not going to go back and talk about the bubble and all that before, but if you remember back in 2008, everything the real estate world was kind of shaken and tossed upside down. And at that time, the buyers were in control. There were a lot of foreclosed homes. There were people short selling. The houses were plentiful. The prices were low. And then as they started to come back up, they were a little steady. And the sellers were they were really giving a lot. They were giving closing credits. They were making repairs. The house may have sold below the asking price because at that point, the buyers were in control. There were plenty of houses. And now we got these buyers out here and they can afford to buy. So if you look at the real estate world, in about every 10 years, it kind of changes a little bit. So we'll be in the buyers, then we'll be in the sellers, then we'll be in the buyers, then we'll be in the sellers. Does that make sense? You can just nod your head. Yeah, you got it. So the question is, what do you do in this type of market? Well, sort of kind of depends on who you are. So if you are buying, but I want to go back for a minute. I want to talk about the buyer's market before I go here. Remember before in the previous slide when I was talking about last year, how it was still in the buyer's market? About 3 years ago, I had a client and she wanted to sell her house. Beautiful, beautiful house. We put it on the market and we could not get a buyer. So we ended up renting her house. Last year, during the pandemic, we put the house back on the market. Within, I want to say within a week, we had an offer. And that offer was $30,000 more than what it was 3 years ago. So in 3 years, she went up 10,000 each year. Now, we didn't know that the market was going to turn this way. We didn't know interest rates would be low. We didn't know the prices would be higher, but it just worked out in her favor. I mean, that was kind of a great thing. We were trying to sell her home during a buyer's market. When we sold her house during the seller's market, you can clearly see that turnaround. So I'm saying all that to say, before we get to this slide, I just want you to think about this, and as I'm going through it, think about it more futuristic. Let's say that I had income property right now. Let's say that, I was a landlord, I had a house right now. And I decided I've had this house for 20 years and it's been absolutely wonderful for me. But now I want to sell it. This will be a great time for me to do that. You see what I mean? Last year may not have been. So we're going to talk about, what do you do in this market? Well, if you are buying, you want to call me first so I can help you out. But you got to be prepared for a couple of things. You got to be prepared to pay more for the house. And that's a conversation I have with my clients, because right now, as we talked about before, supply and demand. So when that price is driven up, like last year, if I would have taken you out, showed you a house, we could have sold it you could have bought it at the list price or lower. Today, I tell my clients right away, you're going to have to, if you really want this house or this piece of property, you're going to have to be prepared to go a little bit higher. So the offer is more than likely going to be above list price, but you're going to receive a lower interest rate. So the interest rate that you had last year is not the interest rate for this year. So it still may fall within your budget. You know how you talk to your lender and you say, I want to only pay $1,500 a month. That's it. Well, when interest rates are low, you could be within that budget with a higher house. Does that make sense? Okay. If you're buying, you got to be prepared to get your feelings hurt a little bit, because your highest and best offer may not be the other person's highest and best offer. So you have all of this competition. Remember in our riddle, people, and that was true. I would go out when it was sub-zero, not last week, but the week before, and I show up thinking nobody's going to come see this home. And it's 20 cars out there, 20 degrees below zero, 16. That's that demand. So if you have all of that and you get 12 offers on there, there's only going to be one person with that winning contract. So you have to be prepared to have your best and your highest and your best offer rejected. And you also have to be prepared to look for a while and put in several offers. So I know that right now, some of my buyers, they're getting a little frustrated because we're going out, we're doing an aggressive search, and we're looking, and we've been looking since last year. And we put offers in and somebody else beats us out. And I mean, we go over and somebody else beats us out. So you don't want to get discouraged. You just want to understand what type of market this is. Will we find it? Yes. Will it be hard? Yes. Will we get a little frustrated? Yes. But at the end, will we win? Absolutely yes. Now, if you're selling today, again, you want to call your realtor, you want to call me first, but you got to be prepared for some things. You got to be prepared to receive lots of visitors during COVID. And I know that people are, I don't want people in my house. When we first shut down in March last year, we real estate agents, we still had to work. We were still essential. So I'm out showing houses. The sellers would be there and they did not want us to touch light switches. They did not want us to open closets. They did not. And it's like, how do you show a house? I mean, everybody had Lysol and gloves and masks and everything. Remember in the beginning when everybody was like, we didn't know what was happening. And so you got to be prepared to have visitors during COVID. You got to have the hand sanitizer out, gloves out just in case they didn't come with gloves, masks just in case they didn't come with masks. You may want to have the shoe covers out. And in the beginning, because the shoe covers are used by the construction workers, it wasn't a lot of PPE. Remember when PPE was, dwindling down because everybody was buying things. So those are some things you got to be prepared. More people coming to visit your house. The other thing is you have to be prepared that it's more than two people coming, because it could be me, the realtor, the husband and the wife, and a child, right? Or it could be someone single and their parents, and you don't want a lot of people in. We're supposed to practice the 6 feet of distance and all that. So it's a lot of things that sellers just would have to be comfortable with. Maybe you're in this room while that person in that room, you just have to make it work. And you have to get ready to receive a lot of offers on your home. Some could be low, but majority of them going to be high. And you want to be fair when you're looking at that. And you need to be prepared to choose the right offer, what you think is best. So let me give you an example. Let's say that Carmen is my friend, and I know that her and her husband, they're looking for a house. And I have a house that I listed and I sold, and I have for sale. And Carmen comes, and there's something that I cannot do. I could lose my license for doing this, but I tell Carmen, hey, if you bid this, I can lose my license. So you have to make sure that it's not friends, or if someone you selected somebody's offer that really wasn't the highest or the best offer. All of this is recorded and someone can see this. This becomes public information once it closes, and they can come back, and that could be a court situation. So you want to be fair when you're looking at these houses. You and the agent, that would be me, doing the due diligence of calling the lenders, making sure that this is a great buyer. They have the money in the bank so your deal doesn't fall apart. I mean, it's a lot of work when you have this much demand. You still have to be fair and work with everyone fairly. Does that make sense? Now, what if you're an investor? Again, you're going to call me. But have you seen those signs outside? They're kind of stuck in the ground or posted somewhere. We buy ugly houses. We'll buy your house. You don't have to do anything. We don't even have to see it. We'll buy it. Well, inventory is low. So investors are looking for houses that they can flip and put back on the market, because we know it's the seller's market. So people want to buy, people want to sell. So if you're an investor, you're in that same point, in that little box of being with the buyer, which is you got to be prepared to look long and you got to look hard, because you're an investor and you're looking for that deal. You're not trying to buy a house that's 200,000 if it's not going to sell for $500,000. So you're looking for that piece of property that's going to be low, some distressed property which we don't have a lot of because people are staying in their home, that you can buy on the low, fix it up nicely, and sell it on the high. So that's going to be, like that little diamond in the rough. Like out in my area, I live by Markham. Markham is putting an Amazon up. So all of a sudden, all those houses around Markham, that area, they're being bought up and being rehabbed because they know that once that Amazon opens, people will want to live close to work. So, that's something to be aware of, that you're going to look long and hard. And the other thing is you're going to pay more for that property than you did last year. Remember, last year was a buyer's market, so the prices were different. This year, the prices are higher and that demand is there, so it's going to drive it up. So the thing is, when you're out, whether you're selling or buying, you want to make sure that you are prepared to make a decision almost immediately. You know how you can walk into the store and you see something you like and you say, I'm going to watch it, I'll come back. With these houses, a client will text me today and say, I want to see this house tomorrow. Before I can set the appointment, it's under contract. You almost have to walk in the door with the contract, pre-approval, earnest money in your hand to get the house. So it's not a lot of time. So you just gotta know what you want, make your decision. If there's houses that you're looking at, then obviously you like them. You just don't have the time to think it over a couple of days. If something happens during the inspection period, that's another, thing that you would do. Maybe, you're not going to go through with the deal if it's a horrible house. But in terms of putting that offer in, your highest and best, you want to do that right away. They're flying off the shelf. So the question is, how much money do you need, right? So our whole thing is financial literacy. So I'm just going to move this over here. How much money? Well, it all depends. Are you using a grant, which we're going to talk about that in a moment? Are you using your savings if you're a buyer? If you're a seller, are you willing to pay the closing costs for the buyer? Are you willing to make repairs on your home? And then how are you financing or refinancing? Are you doing a conventional loan or an FHA loan? Are you using cash? Those are some things to consider. We're right now, and I don't know if you can drop this in the chat if you like, but how many of you know that the Illinois Housing Department Authority has grants? And quite a few of my clients have been using the grant. The grant helps you with your down payment. So there's a grant, and there's, we can talk about it later if this is something you're interested in. But what the grant does is it allows you up to $7,500 for your down payment. And how much do you have to invest into it? Just 1% of that house. So if it's a $200,000 house, $2,000. And each program varies. There's some different things that's in it. We can talk about that. You want to talk to your lender about it, but that grant is out there. It is real. I've closed plenty of clients using that grant for years. There's a new grant out that if you have a student loan where you can get up to I left a period out there. That looks like it's a whole lot of money, $40,000. Now that program varies, and we can talk about that, but that can help reduce student loans. But the whole point of it is the whole point of this is to tell you that there is money available for grants that you can use. So when we talk about how much money, remember before I said it depends on how you are financing. Conventional. Conventional right now is a 3 or 5% down payment. FHA is 3.5% down payment. Closing costs are typically 3% of the purchase price. Then you're going to have your inspection, which you're going to pay them cash, depending on what you're buying, between $400 and $600. You're going to have your real estate attorney, which you will pay at the end when the transaction closes, unless they ask you for a retainer. That varies as well. That's between $650 to $800. So let's take this and break it down as if we're buying a $100,000 home. If it's conventional, my down payment is $5,000. My closing cost is 3%. So right there, I'm at $8,000, right? Plus, I got to have my inspection. Plus, I need my attorney. Okay. If it's FHA, it's 3.5% down. So that same $100,000 house is $3,500. 3% closing cost. So now you're at 65. But remember, on the previous slide, we talked about the grant, and the grant helps us with that down payment. So if our down payment is not 7,500, but we get up to 7,500, some of that money could be used to offset some of those closing costs. Okay. So the grant is very helpful because it's out there to help you get in homes. So we want to make sure that if we're buying a house, we're coming to the table with as little money as possible. Closing costs, we can talk about that. Remember, before I asked the question to the seller, are you paying the buyer's closing costs? So suppose that seller says, yes, I'm paying the closing costs, and you had a grant, you're winning, right? You know, so those are all good things to talk about when buying a home. Today is a good time pretty much for everybody. It's a good time to buy. Interest rates are low. It's a good time to sell, demand. It's a good time to build. Now, I want to talk about building really quickly. If you decide that you want to build a home, the lots are going fast as well. I took my clients to see a lot, and now we have to wait 6 months for lots to open back up because they went away that fast. Because remember, interest rates are low, so you're getting more house because you're paying less. And it's a good time to refinance, you know. And here's my thing, and my nieces that are on the call will tell you this, because I've sold them all their homes. I always say you don't want to use your house as a ATM. You don't want to use it as a cash station. You don't want to refinance and pay credit card bills and refinance and do something, because that's just building it up debt. You're going to refinance, you want to do some home improvement, you're putting money into the market where it can make money, but you don't want to ever jeopardize a nice access that you have, which is your home. So if you're refinancing, this is a good time when the interest rates are low. You just don't want to do it and then you put it on a credit card and then you charge a credit card back up. Okay. Again, my name is Vanessa Bradley. There's my email. You can do it if you're on your phone, or if you can do a screenshot, you can take a screenshot of this. If you want to know more about those grants, you have student loans and you're looking to purchase a home, we can talk about that as well. So you can email me. My cell number is there as well. I am on Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn, I should have put that on there as well. I've put maybe a few things on TikTok, not as much, but definitely Facebook and Instagram. So we can always discuss how to bring less money or lowering your costs to the closing table. That's on the seller side and the buyer side. And so now I would like to open the floor up. I'm not sure if everyone has just muted themselves or if you're just muted, for any questions that you may have of me. Any questions?
I was just curious, do you happen to offer any classes for people to become a real estate agent?
Well, the classes are
Enjoying
they're
yourself?
all, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just saying since you've done it for so long.
Mhm. Well, there are classes I don't offer them, and my office does not offer classes, but there are quite a few real estate classes out now where you can take them. And right now, there is a good time to take them because you can do it all online since everything is not open back up yet.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I have a question. And Ms. Bradley, this is Edie. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to know, you talked about how the prices of houses are going up because of the whole supply demand. Have you found that people are having a more difficult time approved for loans since the houses are more expensive now?
No, I'm not. And let me tell you why. It's really weird in this sense. Um, Last year, we were shut down. So no one could travel. So all of your money that you would normally spend on the fun stuff, people had it. People that I talked to, their savings account was up. They had paid off their credit card bills because you couldn't travel, you couldn't go to the movies, you couldn't go out to dinner for a long time. And people were working. And so that their money was just in their account. So last year, people would have gone on cruises. They would have, you know what I mean? They would have spent that money. So people are getting approved and they're getting through at the closing table. Is just not a lot of houses for all the people who are ready to buy. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so with the market being the way that it is, if I wanted to tap into an investment property, would it be wiser to try to purchase a building, 2, 3 flat per se, or purchase a home and try to fix it and sell it and put it back on the market since it's a seller market right now?
Well, both are good things to do. It just depends on what you want to do. Do you want to be a landlord? Meaning you're buying this property, you're going to rent it out, you're going to have the tax benefit of owning this property for years and all the tax write-offs for fixing the property up, right? So that's one thing if you decide you want to be a landlord. There are plenty of properties that's out for sale, and they already have renters in them. So if you're looking for a property that's already that have renters that already are making money, that's out there as well. It just depends on what you want to do. If you are looking to get your money now, then you're talking about purchasing a home, rehabbing, and selling it. Both have benefits, but it depends on where you want to be in the long run. And right now, if it's something that you're looking to purchase, and let's say that it has renters in there, we would do some due diligence because right now with COVID, there's a moratorium on people being evicted. So there's some things that we would have to talk about in terms of buying investment rental property. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Bradley,
Yes.
what would you say about somebody that might want to invest in property outside of the state that they live in?
Invest meaning you would buy the property and somebody lives there, or you're buying the property, fixing it, and selling it.
Yeah, if you was buying it, fix it up, and sell it somewhere where the expenses wasn't as high as they are in the state of the North. Say if you want to go to a market where where it wasn't expensive to live, it's here, so you could buy some property, maybe fix it up and sell it, but it's not the state that you live in.
Oh yeah, you can do that. You just want to make sure that the state laws are what you abide by. For instance, years ago, Illinois had a flipping law, which said that you could not sell the property, you had to hold the property for at least 6 months. So wherever you're going, you want to make sure that the state doesn't have any, you want to look at what the state has in terms of those flipping laws. Do you have to hold the property for X amount of period before you can sell it? But, it will work the same anywhere in terms of investing in buying a property, fixing it up and flipping it. You just want to make sure that you're following the state laws. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hey, there's several questions in the chat.
Okay.
I'm
Just give you all
sorry,
the heads up.
Can I put the question in the chat or should I proceed? I apologize.
That's okay. You can proceed.
Okay, real quick, what would you say for a person that's trying to sell their property? What's some of the top 3 enhancements they should make to their home in order to make it more attractive for purchasing at your price or above?
Well, kitchen and bathrooms always sell, right? And when that kitchens and bathrooms, those are the main. You want to make sure that when the person walks into your home, they're visualizing themselves in there. So you want to make sure you don't have a lot of it. Make your house, this is the best way I can describe it. You want your house to be showroom ready. You know how you walk into that showroom and you fall in love with that sofa couch? And that's because it doesn't look like anybody lives there, right? You don't want to have those personal pictures on your wall. You don't want those degrees on your wall. You want that person to walk in and see themselves living there. So you want to make sure that it's not cluttered. You got magnets on your refrigerators, take those down, right? All of that. It needs to be nice, neat, clean. If you have that right now with a nice kitchen and bathroom, you're ready. And did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Oh, can I add
say that again?
Neutral colors on the walls?
Neutral is nice, but you know what I'm noticing? That the warm colors are coming back. For years, and I want to say, I can't even remember how many years. For years, we've been walking in, everybody's house is gray with the white trim, right? That has just been selling. I'm walking in, I'm seeing some warm blues, back to some warm yellows. It's all about making it look nice, neat, and clean. But some of the warm colors are coming back. The lighter colors absolutely makes the home look larger.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
There's a question in the chat that asks if the realtor helps get the attorney.
Can the realtor help get the attorney?
Yes, that's the question in the chat.
Okay, so as realtors, we have relationships with attorneys, inspectors, and lenders. So we don't get any kickbacks or anything if you use any, but we have relationships with them. We've worked with them in the past. So we recommend. So if somebody says, I really don't have an attorney, and you want a real estate attorney, that's very, very key that you want a real estate attorney. If someone says, can you recommend an attorney for me? I give them at least 3 attorneys, and I ask them to call them and interview them, talk to them about their price to see if they match, their personalities match. But yes, we do refer, like people refer business to me, we refer out to them as well.
Good answer. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's another question in the chat. Are the grants only used to purchase in certain areas, the grants that you spoke about earlier?
At some point, the grants used to be for certain areas when they were trying to rebuild areas up, but right now the grants are not per an area. It's an Illinois grant. There are some things that go along with it that I would need to, the lender and myself will need to talk about in terms of, with the grant, you have to be in the house for X amount of years. You can't sell it. You have to have an X amount of a credit score. So those are the stipulations of the grants. If you are not in the house for the years that it specifies, then you could have to pay that grant back. But right now it's not, years ago, they used to give certain money if you moved, let me just name some place. If you moved into, let's say, Chicago Heights, they had grants specifically for that. But this grant is for Illinois.
Okay, one more question in the chat. Do you
Okay.
know of any grants in Georgia?
Unfortunately, I do not. But if you contact any lender in Georgia, what you want to do is you just want to ask them, just a very generic question. Are there any first-time homeowner grants? Depending on your profession, if you're a teacher, are there any teacher grants? Anything that could help out. Do you have a state grant? Any grants at all?
Okay, another question in the chat. With the grant, can you run a home-based business?
If the house, so let's say it's a daycare, is the house then zoned for that business, or is the house just zoned as residential? Because the grants are for residential. So you would really have to look at, for instance, I do real estate out of my home. But if I purchase my home using a grant, that would be okay because I'm a residential place. Does that make sense?
Drop it in the chat, the person who asked the question, if it makes sense.
And then if you want to talk more about that, if you did a screenshot of my phone number or my email, you can always contact me. Were there any other questions? Looks like we answered all of them.
Are you married?
Yes, happily married with a lot of kids. Any other questions? Okay, if we do not have any other questions.
There is one. Hold on.
Okay.
I see one.
I
Okay.
have a question.
Looking. Okay, I'll let you go ahead.
Do you need an assistant to work with you?
Currently, right now, I have a wonderful assistant, and yes, in this business, because our business is it's a lot of paperwork. You have to do a lot of stuff to make sure that you are in compliant. So yes, I would recommend, and the person who asked the question before about taking a real estate class, if you do go into real estate, I would suggest that you have an assistant to help you out, because you are dealing with quite a few clients, buyers, sellers, as you saw, investors, and you just want to make sure that you can give them all of your time. And if you are trying to do this by yourself, then, you have to cut some time out from other people. So I would recommend having an assistant. And yes, I have one. Thank you.
Okay. There is, I'm not sure if this is a question or not, but it says, looking for commercial property with residential property above.
Okay.
Looking for a daycare residential. So.
Okay. Okay. So, yes. So there's quite a few properties like that where you have the multi-use, where you can have like a storefront on the bottom and apartments at the top. Just depends on which area you're looking at. So if you didn't get a chance to screenshot it, I'll just say it slowly, or Tara, if you can drop it in the chat. But my email is vbradley660@yahoo.com. or if you want to call me, it's 708-557-3793.
I'll be calling you, Miss Bradley.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. This was an amazing opportunity. I wanted to again thank Victoria for putting this this week together. This was great being able to be with people during COVID, that we can still meet and share great information. This was a great financial literacy week, and we are going to wrap it up tomorrow with our mentor, Victoria, who's going to bring in some more gems and salts for us. So if you can make it back tomorrow, what time, Victoria, tomorrow?
It's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. You can make it back tomorrow. We'll end this whole financial literacy week, and I learned a lot this week, which is really great. So thank you so much. And Victoria, did you want to say anything before we sign off?
I actually don't have any closing remarks. Tara, do you have any closing remarks?
I just would like to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedules to join in with us. This actually has been a really, really good, informative week. And again, thank you, Vicki, for putting it together. We appreciate it.
Okay. Everyone have
Yeah.
an amazing weekend, amazing day, and see you tomorrow.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, guys.